Stewart, thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you for telling us about the accomplishments in Prince William County. So how would you broaden those as governor?
Well, one of the first things that Virginia needs to do, we've been so heavily dependent upon the defense sector and upon the federal government sector in general here in Northern Virginia. We've become complacent, and due to the cutbacks and the constraint in federal spending over the past several years, Virginia has failed to respond. We have not diversified our economy, especially here in Northern Virginia. We are now one of the slowest growing states in the United States of America. And that is because we, as other states, have taken the initiative to be better, to make a better tax environment, a better business environment for small businesses, especially small businesses. Virginia's been complacent, and we've done nothing. Our top marginal income tax rate is 5.75%. North Carolina, which had a top marginal income tax rate in 2010 of 7.75%, as of January 1st, they've reduced that down to 5.49%. And guess where the jobs are going? They're going to North Carolina, they're going to other states that have better business environments. So, I will do in Virginia what I've done in Prince William County. I will direct the zero-based budgeting of every one of the state's agencies on a revolving basis, as we've done in Prince William County. That is how we were able to cut $185 million out of our base budget. And that is how we're going to reduce income taxes. The largest, the deepest tax cut in Virginia history will occur under the first year as my watch as governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We will reduce in a single year income taxes by 17%. That's a $2.2 billion in recurring spending cut out of the state's budget. That's a 3.7% cut as a percentage. And that is how we're going to reduce taxes, and that is how we're going to bring back businesses and allow you to keep more money in your own pockets.
Okay, thank you. So, as I'm sure you know, there's been a rise in hate and bias crimes around the country. The JCC of Northern Virginia was vandalized a month ago. There's been hate mail and threats at local mosques. These tensions, I think, have recently been inflamed even more, given immigration rates in Northern Virginia, the situation in Charlottesville, where the City Council has decided to remove a Confederate statue. There have been rallies around that. How, as governor, would you work to ensure that the Commonwealth is a welcoming place for all?
We must fight bigotry and racism from whichever end of the political spectrum it comes from. Whether it's from the right, but today, most of the anti-Semitic bigotry is not coming from the right. It is coming from the left. And we must face it. Let me ask you all a question. Democratic Congressman Jim Moran, is he a friend of your community? Do you support what he said? Do you support the attacks in the Jewish community that Congressman Moran has made? What about Keith Ellison from Minnesota? And what about Charlottesville City Councilman Wes Bellamy, who has said some of the most, as a Democrat, some of the most despicable things about white women, and I will not repeat them.
Can you answer the question?
And so my question to you all is this: if we can be unified in attacking bigotry from whatever the source, that is how we're going to defeat it. But we have to recognize that it's coming from both ends of the political spectrum.
Shame.
Okay. Well, the culprit who was apprehended for defacing the JCC in Northern Virginia in the neighboring church was actually a self-avowed white supremacist. But I do hear what you're saying about us all being able to speak to one another and create a welcoming place together. As far as the immigration piece, what do you see as the governor's role or the Commonwealth's role in ensuring legal path to citizenship and ensuring that those who are here potentially illegally are able to report domestic violence and other crimes, feel safe to present themselves to the police?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that question. And my wife is an immigrant. Immigrants are good for this country. But today in America, we have chaos in our immigration system. And we have chaos because there's no enforcement. And we are lumping those who come here illegally, in some cases waiting for decades, to enter the United States, to become part of our community, to become part of our country. And we're treating them just the same as somebody who cuts a line and comes over the border illegally. We have a very common sense policy in place in Prince William County, and it is very simply this. And we've poll tested this each and every year to find out where our community stands. In Prince William County, if you are arrested for a crime, we are not raiding job sites, we are not just knocking randomly on people's doors, checking people's immigration status. We don't have that authority, and we don't do it. But if somebody in Prince William County is arrested for a crime, not just some minor infraction of the law, but is arrested for a crime, we check their immigration status. And we check their immigration status whether they're white, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're Asian. We check their immigration status whether they're speaking English or Portuguese or Swedish or Spanish. And if that person is here illegally and they've committed a crime and they pose a threat to the safety of your families, then once they have served their sentence for the underlying crime they've committed, we hand them over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And it is up to ICE at that point what they wish to do. But we've had this policy in place now for 10 years. It's a common sense policy that targets those illegal immigrants who are committing crimes. And I'm proud to say that in the 10 years that we've had this policy in place, and of the 7,500 criminal illegal immigrants that we've handed over, there has not been one, not a single case of racial profiling that has occurred. And this is a policy which is commonsensical, it brings down crime, it directs our efforts on those criminal illegal immigrants who are committing crimes, and it is a policy which I will extend statewide in Virginia.
Let's pivot a little bit to healthcare, and I'm going to ask it in the same way that I asked Mr. Perriello a few minutes ago. So, what are your thoughts on how we can ensure that all Virginians can obtain affordable health care, including mental health services and substance abuse treatment, and how can you do this in a bipartisan way?
Our healthcare system in Virginia, and indeed across the country, is antiquated. Medicaid, a system designed for the health care of the poor, primarily, was written and implemented in the 1960s. It hasn't changed very much. We have a lot of old, antiquated rules that frankly don't work for healthcare providers. They don't work for taxpayers. In 1985, Medicaid accounted for 5% of Virginia's budget. And today, it accounts for 22% and growing of Virginia's budget. And frankly, it doesn't work for those who rely upon Medicaid for their health care. It is time to completely revamp and modernize this system. What I'm proposing to do when I become governor is to block grant, work with the Trump administration, to block grant Medicaid funding from the federal government, and then we design a new system for Virginians, by Virginians, which will provide a better service to those who need it. It will be less costly to the taxpayer, and it will be more fair to providers. That is what I'm going to do as governor.
So I'm actually going to ask a question that I didn't have the opportunity to ask the other candidates. Separation of church and state is incredibly important to the Jewish community. We've fought bills in the General Assembly over the past several years, including school prayer, legislative prayer, military prayer, and most recently, the past 2 years, a bill that would have allowed individuals and nonprofits to discriminate against the LGBTQ community under the guise of religious freedom. What are your thoughts on protecting the separation between church and state, but also allowing people to worship freely in the Commonwealth, and how would you do that as governor?
Well, I believe in the Constitution. It's very simple. I don't believe that people should be treated differently by the government because of their religion. And, you know, as some of you may be aware of my record in Prince William County, I've taken a lot of heat because I feel that regardless of a person's religion, they must be treated the same by the local government, and they must be treated the same by the state government as well.
Did the answer the rest of the question?
Do you have a remedy for the transportation headaches we're experiencing in Northern Virginia?
Well, let me ask you this. So in 2013, Virginia passed the biggest tax increase in Virginia history, supposedly for transportation. Supposedly for transportation. And most of that tax burden is on you. It's on those of us who live in Northern Virginia. It's also on those who live in Hampton Roads. So my question is, has your traffic been alleviated? No, it hasn't. And that's because Virginia does not have a revenue problem, folks. It has a priority problem. In Northern Virginia, we are now taxing people, we're about to begin taxing people, to use 66 inside the Beltway. A road which you already paid for. We should never use tolling authority to tax you twice. And that is exactly what tolling inside the Beltway amounts to. And here's one for you too, which you probably don't know of. The expansion of 66 outside the Beltway, that was supposed to be paid for by the increased taxes that you were generating because of the tax increase in 2013. But that's not going to happen. Instead, you're going to be tolled for those new roads, and the $300 million plus revenue that was supposed to come from that tax increase in 2013 is being shifted to other parts of Virginia. To improve our transportation, we must make it a priority. That's what I did in Prince William County. And even as we decrease taxes, we focus those resources on education, transportation, public safety. And that's why we have the largest road building program in the state, bar none. And that's what I'm going to do in Virginia. We're going to focus those resources on transportation.
And like I did for Mr. Cariello, I'm going to combine two very complicated questions. What is your perspective on the governor's role and the Commonwealth's role in protecting a woman's right to choose? And also, how would you work in a bipartisan way to ensure that guns don't fall into the hands of the wrong people?
Well, I believe that life begins at conception. I cannot, and speaking of religion, my faith is that it is wrong to take a life, an innocent life. And as that life begins at conception, I would do everything in my power as governor to protect it. There's a bill out there which Governor McAuliffe passed that would veto it. It's common sense. And that is to bar abortion after the 20th week, late-term abortion. It's a baby. I will sign that legislation to protect that life.
What about the mom's life?
Now, with regard to the Second Amendment, it is our right. You may not like it, some might not, but it is an absolute right. And in Virginia, I will sign legislation which will make, in Virginia, constitutional carry the law of the land, which will mean that you would not have to, providing that you're a law-abiding citizen, not a felon, that you should not have to go to the government to exercise your Second Amendment rights.
What are your thoughts on those with mental illness having accessibility to firearms?
I'm sorry, sir.
What are your thoughts on preventing ways for those who are mentally ill or with orders of protection against them from gaining access to firearms?
Yeah, I think this is the problem. I think what we have to recognize is that existing law prohibits somebody who's been deemed by a medical professional as having a mental illness They should not be carrying weapons, should not be owning or bearing weapons. That we need to do a better job of enforcing the existing laws and books. I don't think that's happening now. I think that if we can all focus on keeping weapons out of the hands of criminals, keeping weapons out of the hands of those who should not be having weapons because of their mental status, or because of mental illness. That if we can do that, that is the best way to reduce gun-related violence here in Virginia. Not keeping hands out of law-abiding citizens. I don't agree with that.
Thank you. As with the other candidates, I regret that our time is so short, but by a 1 minute wrap up, what sets you apart from the other candidates? Why should the participants here vote for you?
I'm the only one who's governed. I'm the only one who's governed a very large locality, almost 500,000 people for 10 years. And during that period of time, crime is at an all-time low in Prince William County. We are #1 in job growth in Virginia, #3 in the United States. We have the largest road building program in Virginia. If you're looking for somebody who can get things done, somebody who can reduce crime, someone who can bring back jobs, someone who can keep your taxes low and lower them, and someone who's not just talked these things but has actually done it, then I'm your candidate. Thank you all very much.